As expected, there are many exciting things to do here in this country. Here are the top places to visit in Saudi Arabia for the best vacation experience. Be sure to stick around until the end to discover the breathtaking destination at number 1. Number 9. Riyadh. Riyadh is Saudi Arabia's capital and the country's largest city. It is also one of the most popular tourist destinations in the Middle East, and you don't want to miss out on visiting it during your stay in Saudi Arabia. In fact, the capital city should be among your top priorities and the first places to explore once you get here. Plus, the King Khalid International Airport is the second largest airport in the country and likely where your flight will touch down. It is located just north of Riyadh, making the city easily accessible. This magnificent city doesn't waste any time to impress, and you will be immediately wowed by the modern architecture lined up here. You might need a moment to take in the beautiful scenery before heading down to explore the several attractions in the city. King Abdul Aziz Historic Center is the National Museum of Saudi Arabia, and it is a good place to start your tour. Here, you will learn everything you need to know about Saudi Arabia's rich history and heritage. Also, with more than 8 exhibition halls to explore, you can rest assured of seeing your fill of historic relics and monuments. The capital city also boasts other impressive attractions, like the Al Masmak Fort, Al Rajahi Grand Mosque, and the End of the World Cliff at the end of the Tuwaik mountain range. Also, get ready to be blown away by the mesmerizing view of the 99-story skyscraper in the Kingdom Center. You might also want to check out the ever-busy Deira Souk, where you can shop for take-home souvenirs. Number 8. Medina. Known as the City of God, Medina is considered the second holiest city in Islam and one of the top attractions in Saudi Arabia. It is where the Prophet Muhammad lived after he left Mecca, and you can explore the different attractions in this city when you arrive. Although the city did exist for over 1,500 years before Muhammad's immigration, it only really became significant after the Prophet. Today, not only is it famous for its religious significance, but it also has some cultural relevance that further adds to its importance. Al-Masjid an-Nabawi is the Prophet's mosque in Medina, and it is a site worthy of visiting for religious enthusiasts. The architecture and structure of this mosque also make it a valid attraction for regular tourists looking to have a good time exploring the holy city. However, non-Muslims can only admire the structure from a distance, as they are not allowed into the mosque premises. Although the city is developed and features a few more attractions, tourists often only visit here for religious duties. Number 7. Yanbu. Yanbu is a port city in the Red Sea region of Saudi Arabia, and it shares a coast with the famous sea. Of course, Yanbu is a very popular city because of its numerous attractions, but it is also economically significant because of its shipping terminals. The port has been used as a point of trade for many years, especially for the import and export of petroleum. Well, you can bet that this city is worth your time and attention, as there's much more to it than its port duties. Thanks to its fantastic beaches, Yanbu has become an ideal relaxation spot, especially after a tour of the desert landscapes. Some activities to enjoy here include swimming, snorkeling, and spa treatments, among others. Also, there are some exotic resorts and hotels offering top-class accommodations to interested tourists. You can also enjoy the delicious cuisines served in the restaurants around town. Number 6. Jeddah. Jeddah is a must-visit destination in Saudi Arabia, especially since it's the top trade center in the country. The ancient city became prominent as early as 647 when it was named an international travel hub. Jeddah is the biggest and main port in the country, and it also shares the coast of the famous Red Sea. Of course, the top attraction in Jeddah is its international airport. However, Al Rama Mosque is a very close second, as it also records tons of visitors annually. Also known as the Floating Mosque, Al Rama is enclosed by the waters of the Red Sea, and its white silts often look as though they are suspended. Tourists visiting Jeddah can count on having a fun experience, as there are more than a few attractions to explore here. If you are thrilled by archaeological sites, you may want to visit Al Balad Historical Site. You can also check out King Fahd's Fountain towards the city center, shop at the Red Sea Mall, or stroll along the Jeddah Corniche. Number 5. Hayil. A trip to the southwestern part of the country will bring you to Hayil, which is the capital and the largest city in the namesake region. Bordered by Mount Shamar to the north and Mount Salma to the south, the city boasts a unique landscape dominated by the red sands of the Al Nafud Desert. The city is most famous for the international events hosted here, including the Hayil International Rally and Desert Festival. At the center of the city, you'll find the popular Hayil Market, where agricultural produce from the city is sold. Feel free to shop for fruits, vegetables, and dates, which are favorites in this part. Also, check out the nearby Kishla Palace, which is a 20th century artillery and weapon depot in the Hayil. Besides, you may want to look into the city's rich history at the Hayil Heritage Museum. Here, you'll find about 2,000 antiques representing the culture and history of the city. Life's too short to stay in one place. Hit that subscribe button and let us take you on a journey to some of the most amazing destinations around the world. Number 4. Dammam. Dammam is one of the top cities in Saudi Arabia, and it's a must-visit for tourists visiting the country. The fact that it is only the 5th most populated city in the country goes to show just how great the city is. Dammam is the richest oil region in the world, and it is the major center of Saudi's oil industry. The city is well developed, and the view is enchanting, even at first glance. However, the fun only starts once you get into the city. First, it would interest you to know that Dammam boasts the country's largest international airport. The King Fahd International Airport in Dammam operates 37 airlines, which makes it easily accessible from many countries. Next, you may want to head down to Dammam Corniche, which is a perfect place for an evening on the seaside. This Corniche overlooks the sea on one side and lines up some fancy restaurants and buzzing cafes on the other. There's hardly a better place to watch the sunset in Saudi Arabia than here, along the coast of Dammam. Plus, other attractions in Dammam include Merjan Island, Othaim Mall, and Prince Mohammed bin Fahd Stadium, among others. Number 3. Asir National Park. You should know that Saudi Arabia also boasts an impressive collection of wildlife, most of which are displayed in zoos around the country. However, the Asir National Park in Aba is your best option to see an extensive collection of this wildlife. Asir National Park is an almost untouched wilderness in the heart of Saudi Arabia with remarkable natural landscapes. The park covers an area of more than 617 square miles and is home to about 300 different animal species. Of course, you can join a guided tour to explore this nature reserve, which promises to be one of the highlights of your trip. Number 2. Hegra. Hegra is home to one of the oldest and most impressive structures in Saudi Arabia, which is the Lonely Castle. This historic structure is believed to be over 2,000 years old. Today, it is one of the most famous landmarks in the country, and the archaeological site is also proven to be a must-visit attraction, especially for history buffs. The unique art and architecture of Hegra's structures were inspired by the Nabatean people, who were the original inhabitants of Hegra. Although the monument was never completed, it is still one of the top attractions in the region and is very much worth visiting. Surely you will marvel at what is waiting for your viewing pleasure when you arrive here. Number 1. Mecca. Mecca is by far the most popular city in Saudi Arabia. The city is the capital of the Mecca province and the holiest city in Islam. It is the birthplace of the Prophet Muhammad and the religion of Islam, and only Muslims are allowed into the city. Also, Mecca often records large numbers of Muslims trooping in for Hajj, which is the annual Islamic pilgrimage. Plus, this city is home to Masjid al-Haram, the largest mosque in the world, attracting millions of devotees worldwide. So if you are a Muslim, visiting the holy city of Mecca will be a dream come true, as you get to experience true worship with other devotees. Undoubtedly, you will love every bit of it.
This is Al Ula, a unique region of Saudi Arabia. Due to the fact that the country was closed to tourists for a long time, these fantastic landscapes, similar to Utah and Arizona, have been seen by few. And interestingly, they're quite different from the rest of Saudi Arabia. Fortunately though, since 2019, the country has started issuing tourist visas, and today, we have a chance to show this incredible place to you. So, we find ourselves in Al Ula now. It is not a city, but a historic region. It has tons of interesting stuff, and it's where they are building tourism from the ground up. It is meant to become the postcard of Saudi Arabia that will become its main attraction in Jem. This is why they are holding a Winter in Tantora festival. It's the second time it's been held here, spanning over 3 months and attracting tourists from all over the world, who of course come to see this unique region of the country that wasn't originally accessible to the public. While it's the buses that usually take care of the visitors, I will roam with Laura and Amjad, the Ministry of Tourism representatives who will help me with filming, because as you might have guessed, you need a pass for that too. Let's go then. Alula has left an indelible impression on me from the first day. Just so you know, this region is the size of Belgium, or Maryland for you Americans. Here, erosion and time are the main architects, shaping these sandstone rocks into the most surprising forms, making them look like art installations. And Elephant Mount may be the most well-known. As for my favorite, it is this immense bottle-shaped hole in the rocks. I guess what I'm trying to say is that even a basic drive turns into a total delight here. And 3 days in, I was drop dead in love with this place. Just like I fell in love with Utah and Arizona 2 years ago. But beautiful landscapes are not enough for tourists to start flowing in. You also need quite serious infrastructure. Let's see what they've built to support the festival. As for accommodation, apart from existing hotels, the organizers have raised Bedouin tents that vary from the ones with swimming pools to slightly more budget tents, although I'm sure that emotions from living in the desert are guaranteed in both cases. I, on the other hand, had it even better, staying in a trailer park located in a super picturesque valley. These usually standard trailers here in the middle of a desert make it look like a Mars mission. Very futuristic to say the least. To be clear, these aren't standard trailers. They're manufactured by an American company, Airstream, that has recently celebrated its 100th anniversary. Inside, it's a fully fledged hotel with an aircon, fridge, stove, bathroom, and 2 beds. Oh yeah, you get a terrace too. And each morning, officials bring you breakfast. It's a fancy life in a desert, with many comforts. Food-wise, there are also pop-up restaurants that serve people throughout the time of the festival. The positioning of these restaurants is simply on another level. What's incredible is that the walls of these restaurants still carry the rock drawings that are probably thousands of years old. At times, restaurants were so well placed into the surroundings that I couldn't help but question how they managed it all. This is a road to one of them. To get food, you sometimes need to navigate through some narrow rocks, but it's definitely worth it in the end. This is just wow, guys. Everything is top-notch here, to say the least. Long bars, lots of waiters, chefs from across the world, and the views, of course. Undoubtedly, though, the Moriah building, that translates from Arabic as mirror, and was built specifically for the festival, takes the main stage. Designed by Italian architects, it became part of the Guinness World Record books in 2020 as the largest fully mirrored building in the world and acts as a 500-person concert hall. Apparently, it has been raised in just 3 months, but its main feature is how harmoniously it fits into the local landscapes. Everything that happens next to the cube becomes an extremely photogenic process. Filming it is perfect movie material. All right then, time to jump into an SUV and show you some other local attractions. Desert X exhibition, for example, also runs throughout the 3 months of the festival and displays 14 installations by artists from around the globe. It used to be held near Coachella Music Festival, but now it's been moved to Saudi Arabia, since this desert used to serve as a trading route for spices, incense, and textile between Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. This now quickly brings us to a very important subject. I've been quite often comparing SA to Dubai in this episode, and as you may know, Dubai isn't necessarily rich in history. Well, this is where Saudi Arabia steps in, having not only intensely rich history, but also objects that are over 6,000 years old. Some of them are located in Al Ula. The total number of the monuments in this area is unknown, as the excavations are not completed yet, and even the discovered ones are sometimes only reachable by air. Excavations only began a half a year ago, but there were already around 600 monuments at the time. And here comes the crazy part. More than 22,000 new spots were discovered since the start of excavations. This place is soaking in history. Of course, it would have been impossible to see it all in just 3 days, but I still managed to capture some. Let's begin with Open Library, a place whose rocks carry thousands of inscriptions in the ancient Dadanite language. Locals call it the ancient Twitter, as the writings are arranged in subjects like politics, religion, and general social stuff about life.
How old these signs?
700 years before Christ, 2,700 years ago, at least.
What's incredible is that just 10 years ago, none of these places were heritage sites. There were no tourists, and locals used these sites as playgrounds, including the ancient city of Dedan, for example, that is even mentioned in the Bible. Nowadays, it's very hard to believe, but locals in general disregarded all these places as monuments of history. And it's only with the influx of tourism they realized how important this region really is. Today, this place is beginning to take shape as a true tourist spot, with further advances to come, of course. I think that it's only now that Saudi Arabia has begun to realize how many hidden gems it has. And the greatest gem there is the Madain Saleh. This ancient necropolis is scattered across quite a large region, making hiking between the sites nearly impossible. For now, it's home for 138 rocky tombs, but numbers keep growing as more get discovered. You wouldn't be wrong in thinking there are similarities with Jordanian Petra, because both of these places are built by the same people, Nabateans. Being over 2,000 years old, these monumental structures are cut out of sandstone. And since it isn't the most durable material, it's astonishing how they still remain intact. It's partly thanks to the climate, of course, and the fact that these places were fully abandoned. The tombs were built for burials, hence the facade served as a main identifier of the owner's status and wealth. Amongst these ably made tombs lies the main attraction, the Qasr al-Farid, otherwise known as the Lonely Castle. It's the biggest tomb in the necropolis. Although it was never completed and probably never served its main purpose, it still looks utterly unreal, and its decorations look like something out of The Fifth Element. Madain Saleh is a unique heritage site that, until recently, was only accessible to a limited number of people, and there were even fewer who knew of its existence. One thing I am certain about is that it's the most impressive place in Saudi Arabia, and most likely one of the most impressive monuments in the world. To add to it, the Lonely Castle became an art object itself during the festival, and part of a very unusual show. This place is magical, guys. There aren't many people around. Ambient music is playing in the background. I can't fly my drone any longer because the sky will be taken over by something else now. Oh, and try to guess what those lights are. I'm sure you guys figured it out that it's drones. 300 of them, all synchronized by special software that can form objects without the drones crashing into each other. Unfortunately, the camera just doesn't translate the grandness of it all, but believe me, it's very impressive. couple of words about the evening program now. First, the lit up rocks start looking even more spectacular. Secondly, it's the restaurants where all the visitors gather. But the main action happens in the Mariah Hall, as the festival has a very tight concert schedule. Some of the top artists in the world perform on a weekly basis throughout the 3 months of the festival. This, by the way, is the list of those we already missed. Quite sad that I missed this guy, and these, and maybe these guys too. But these two are performing in 5 minutes, so let's go and check them out. First thing that needs to be mentioned is the space you have between the rows. I guess the number of spaces weren't the main criteria. As for the concert itself, first, Craig David went on stage to warm everybody up. Then he was followed by Lionel Richie, who blew up the stage and got everyone dancing. His top hits were in the mix, of course. The sight of both men and women dancing to the rhythms of music was absolutely unreal for Saudi Arabia just 5 or 6 years ago. But today it unfolds right in front of me. This country is changing and it's amazing. Best thing about it is that we can see it happening right in front of us. The last thing left now is to show you the Al Ula city that hides the reasoning behind the festival's name. Tantora is the sun clock, situated in the Old Town, used by locals to register the change of seasons. As for winter, well, it's the most interesting time here. It's now the end of February, and it's probably the only period of time when the desert is blossoming. Despite being a desert, this place is full of life. There's water that gathers in the reservoirs between rocks and, surprisingly, fertile lands. Al Ula is the oasis, where even fruits grow. It's also home to a unique old town, built 800 years ago, that functioned all the way until the 20th century. Today, it's fully conserved, and I was eager to see more of it. This, though, proved to be difficult, since the city is locked by police. But after Laura made a couple of calls, we were let in. Let into the place that no one can really access.
Hurrah! This is it?
This place is totally unique because it was left as is by its population that got moved to another city nearby. It's now more of a monument of the ancient life, hardly accessible by anyone. Although the Al Ula Old Town is now fully conserved, I doubt that these flimsy structures will last long. Maybe 10 or 50 years from now, it will deteriorate and collapse to the ground, serving as an end to a beautiful story that is Al Ula Old Town. The last family left the town in 1983, turning it into a ghost town ever since. It was an absolutely astonishing experience to stroll through the streets that have long forgotten the sounds of life. And I distantly felt that same feeling I had in Chernobyl. The last thing we'll delve into is entertainment. There are lots of activities during the festival. A polo tournament, for example. And more interestingly, this festival of air balloons that I unfortunately missed, but can at least share these official shots with you. One thing I didn't miss was a flight on retro planes that were brought in specifically for the festival. This guy flew in from the UK, while that passenger C-45 is from the US. The pilot was German, though. I managed to snatch this biplane that was made in 1952 and was used by the US Army for training purposes. Let's cut to the chase now and get to the skies. Here's what flying a World War II plane feels like. First, it's very loud. Secondly, you get to wear funny goggles. Third, you get to stick it between your legs. And finally, it's awesome.
Штука очень прикольная.
Love this. Apart from the turns, because I almost crapped my pants. To summarize Alula, I am very impressed. You live your life not knowing much about this country, and then it suddenly opens up to you with all its unreal history. One question though. Why have you been hiding it from us, guys?